Now let's talk about a little bit of good news here. Proposed cuts to Social Security and Medicare are apparently off the table as part of negotiations to deal with the nation's debt ceiling. At one point, they were talking about raising the full retirement age for Social Security to 70, which would mean that workers and retirees would have to work an additional 3 to 4 years to receive their full benefits. While that is, like I said, been axed, not happening this time around, the solvency of Social Security remains in question, remains in doubt. If similar cuts do happen eventually in the future, how would that impact someone's decision of how and when to retire?
Well, I mean, Social Security is really a cornerstone of somebody's retirement. When you think about the amount of income that could provide during the course of a retired couple's lifetime can oftentimes be almost $1 million when you add it up. And if I think about it, I think about, so what is the biggest problem with Social Security? We'll tell you a little bit about what's going on with Social Security, but the biggest problem that I see with Social Security is many retirees are making a decision on when to draw benefits and oftentimes drawing benefits early and accepting a lifetime penalty because of the fact that they're worried about the insolvency of Social Security, or they're worried about, how long it's going to take before they break even. So there's things that you can control in your situation, and there's things that you can't control. We can't control what the politicians end up deciding to do with Social Security. There's some big problems, but you as a listener, you can control the decision you make on when to select Social Security. So if you thought about, hey, I better get Social Security before it goes broke, or I better get it because I might die early, I would say look at it in a different approach. Don't accept a lifetime penalty for drawing benefits early and negatively impacting it. What you need to do is you need to have a Social Security optimization report. So what we can do is we can take your information, your spouse's information, maybe if you're a widow or somebody who's gone through a divorce, we can take all those facts and figures, we can put it in there, and we can look at the hundreds of possible outcomes that somebody could decide on when to draw Social Security benefits. We can ask you the question as far as what did you think would have been your best approach, and what were you going to do when you were drawing Social Security? We can run that analysis. We can let the computer tell us what they believe is the optimized approach. We can run option B, option C, and help you make an informed, educated decision on what your benefits are. But, when we look at this, it still goes back to one of the biggest problems with Social Security is that it is projected to run out of money in the coming decades. It's funded through payroll taxes, but the number of workers paying into the system continues to shrink as the older generation, is moving into retirement time. My generation and younger aren't having as many children as the past, and people are living longer, and it's going to mean fewer workers are going to be supporting a larger number of retirees. It's continually putting a strain on the finances. And so the additional way that Social Security benefits are calculated, it creates some impurities and inequities, I should say, particularly for certain groups such as lower income workers, those who are living longer. The system also faces political challenges, as we've seen about the debates as far as what they disagree on, what might be the most effective way to address the financial challenges and the shortcomings, and how it's going to impact beneficiaries. According to a 2021 annual report of the Board of Trustees of the Federal Old Age and Survivors Insurance and Federal Disability Insurance Trust Funds, the combined Social Security trust funds are projected to be depleted by 2034. So that's not that far off when you think about just kind of kicking the can down the curb is what they continue to do with this. But 2034 is going to be here, I think, before we know it.
Yeah, that's right squarely in the middle of some of these retirees. That's right there. So that's you're facing a really big challenge. And like you said, Nolan, a lot of people plan for Social Security as the cornerstone of their retirement. So imagine having to plan for a 25% reduction in that asset, basically. That's how I describe Social Security as it's an asset. I know that it's technically a monthly income, but when you look at the type of the dollar amount that would be necessary to generate the reliable stream of income that Social Security can generate for the rest of your life, it is close to $700,000 to $1 million in an asset that you need to have prepared. So there are some really big concerns. In my opinion, kind of getting off topic a bit, but the debt ceiling is probably the one of the bigger issues that we're facing right now, and that if truly we are bumping up against the ceiling and we can't get a resolution, what are the implications for the U.S. economy? Do we have to default on debt? Who knows? But the reality is that I think I read somewhere Social Security and other government benefits are roughly half the budget, and then the other half of the budget is aerospace and defense. So what are we going to cut? So there isn't really much left over to cut. So something will have to change, most likely with Social Security. I'm always a little leery when somebody, especially politicians, say that should be off the table. Remember, no new taxes. That really doesn't mean anything to me. But what it's telling me and what I'm gathering from this kind of under the surface is that you can't rely on the government to protect your financial future and your family. You need to incorporate some other investment strategies and some financial planning to make sure that you're going to be okay, and that you've taken the time to ensure that at least look at what the risks are with Social Security being reduced, and not just blindly relying on the government to figure it out for you.
A couple of the things that you can do to control your situation is, if you look at it, if they're going to have a reduction somewhere between 70 to 75% of the benefits are going to be what's going to be able to be paid out after their projection of year 2034. That's just, really almost 10 years out now. One thing that you could do is, if you've built up a nice retirement nest egg and you follow the philosophy that we teach called the independent income system, what you could do is you could take a bucket of money and you could put it inside a bucket of money that in 10 years from now could be used to offset in case that money went away. So you already had a plan B in place. That could be used for a future pay raise. There are investments that you can put money into today that you can know what the value would be worth in 10 years from now. You can use inflation-adjusted type investments to get that game plan put in place. So not a bad idea to have a plan B. And in addition, the other thing that you can do is to control the decision on when to make Social Security. So again, if you're within 5 years of retirement time and you haven't really looked at what you were going to do with Social Security and got a customized report, that customized solution would be something we'd be happy to do for our radio show listeners. I am also going to be talking about this as one of the topics in the retirement playbook that's coming up here at BGSU at our Levis Commons campus, where we're teaching the class on the retirement playbook. So at Levis Commons, we got a class coming up. You can get all the event details if you want to learn more about Social Security, all the ins and outs of getting retirement ready on our website, arhq.com.
Don't do what the government is doing and kick that can down the road when it comes to your retirement planning. Go ahead and take steps, put a plan in place, and figure out the right time for you. That Social Security optimization report, as Nolan said, they're generously offering that up. You can also register and attend those courses, the retirement playbook coming up at BGSU at Levis Commons. Go to arhq.com for more info about that. But to schedule a time and have that optimization report run, give a call, 419-794-3030. That's 419-794-3030.